Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about larynx. Clinical anatomical problem. A 5-year-old child swallowed a shut button. Her breathing was difficult and noisy. She was unable to speak and her lips showed bluish color. She was rushed to the hospital to clear the airway. So name the narrowest part of the upper airway where the button could have got stuck, and which emergency operation is usually performed to restore the breathing until the stuck foreign body is removed. So at the end of the lecture, you should be able to solve this problem. Okay. I'll be dividing this lecture into two halves. First, we will discuss about the cartilages of larynx. Okay. The extent of the larynx, introduction to the larynx, functions of the larynx, and cartilages of larynx. Then in the other class, we will discuss about the muscles of the larynx, their nerve supply and their action. Okay. Now, general features of the larynx. Larynx is the air passage that opens superiorly into the laryngopharynx. Okay. So pharynx has been divided into three parts: nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx, right? So larynx is the air passage that opens superiorly into the laryngopharynx through the laryngeal inlet and is continuous with the trachea inferiorly. This is the trachea. So it is continuous with the trachea inferiorly at the level of lower margin of the cricoid cartilage. So this is cricoid cartilage. Let us discuss the size of the larynx. The size includes, you can see here, the length is 4.3 centimeters. Transverse diameter is 4.2 centimeters. Anterior posterior diameter is 3.6 centimeters. So if you see, there is a difference in the length between males and females. The male larynx is about 44 millimeters, whereas the female larynx is about 36 millimeters. Okay, you should note it down. So transverse diameter in males, it is about 43 millimeters, and in females 41 millimeters. Anterior posterior diameter in males 36 millimeters, and in females 26 millimeters. Okay, so these are the differences between males and females of their larynx. Coming to the functions of the larynx, primarily a sphincter protecting the trachea, bronchi, lungs during swallowing from intrusion of food, liquid, and foreign body into them. Okay, so it acts as a sphincter. The primary function of the larynx is that it acts as a sphincter protecting the trachea. Trachea is an air passage. Okay, trachea and bronchi and lungs during swallowing from intrusion of food, liquid, and foreign body into them. It is a part of our upper respiratory tract, and it is an organ of phonation. It is an organ of phonation, also known as the voice box. So due to the movements of vocal folds inside the larynx, we are able to speak. Okay. Let us discuss the framework of the larynx. Larynx consists of cartilages. Okay. So the cartilages have been categorized into two: unpaired cartilages and paired cartilages. There are three unpaired cartilages of the larynx. So we can make out here in this diagram. That is, unpaired cartilage number one is thyroid cartilage. You can see here in the midline. Then the cricoid cartilage. Then the epiglottis. This is the epiglottis. So epiglottis, thyroid, and cricoid, these are three unpaired cartilages of the larynx. So there are three paired cartilages of the larynx. They are the arytenoid, carniculate, and cuneiform. So these are arytenoid cartilages, carniculate, and cuneiform cartilages. They are small in number, in size. Okay. So unpaired cartilages, we can make out epiglottis, the cricoid cartilage. This is posterior view. Cricoid cartilage and thyroid cartilage. Paired cartilages, we have arytenoid cartilage, carniculate, and cuneiform. Carniculate and cuneiform are smaller cartilages of the larynx. So let us discuss about the cartilages of larynx. So first we shall see the thyroid cartilage. Okay. Thyroid cartilage, it is the largest of the laryngeal cartilages. Okay. It consists of two quadrangular laminae, we say. These are the laminae of the thyroid cartilages. And it is made up of hyaline cartilage. Okay, which type of cartilage is present in the thyroid cartilage? That is hyaline cartilage. So its upper margin, it corresponds to the C4, and lower margin corresponds to the C5 vertebrae. Okay, upper margin corresponds to the C4 vertebra and lower margin corresponds to the C5 vertebra. It consists of two laminae. This is the right and the left laminae. Okay, two laminae, right and left laminae. They are the laminae of the thyroid cartilage. So each lamina, I told you that it is quadrilateral in shape, quadrilateral, and having four borders. This is the upper border, this is the lower border, and this is the anterior border, and one more, the posterior border. Okay. Two surfaces, this is the outer surface and inner surface. So two surfaces, outer and inner surface, four borders, upper border, lower border, anterior border, and posterior borders. Posterior border of each lamina projects superiorly. So this is the posterior border of each lamina. It projects superiorly to form superior horn, and inferiorly to form inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. Okay. So if you see, the laminae are placed obliquely. Okay. So their posterior borders are, if you see, they are far apart. But the anterior border, they approach each other at an angle about 90 degrees in the males and 120 degrees in the female. Posterior borders are far apart, whereas anterior borders, they approach in the midline at an angle about 90 degrees in the male and about 120 degrees in the female. So the posterior aspect of the thyroid angle gives attachment to the structures like, you can see here, thyroepiglottic ligament, and a pair of vestibular ligaments, a pair of vocal ligaments, and there are some intrinsic muscles attached to the posterior aspect of the thyroid angle. Okay. Now, if you see the lower borders here, the lower parts of the anterior border. So this is the anterior border. The lower parts of the anterior border of the right and left laminae, they fuse. They fuse to form a median projection. So this median projection, you can see here, this is known as laryngeal prominence or Adam's apple whistle. I repeat, the lower parts of the anterior borders of the right and left laminae, they fuse in the midline to form a median projection called laryngeal prominence or the Adam's apple. Okay. So the upper parts of the anterior border of the laminae, they do not meet. You can see here, there is a gap here. So upper parts, they do not meet. They are separated by a notch, it is known as the superior thyroid notch. You can see here, this is the superior thyroid notch. So lower parts of the anterior borders, they meet and they form a median projection that is known as laryngeal prominence or the Adam's apple. The upper parts of the anterior border are separated. That separated uh, separation is known as a notch. So that is known as a thyroid notch. So the upper border, it gives attachment to the thyrohyoid membrane. Okay. Now, if you see on the lateral aspect of the each lamina, there is a line. So this line is known as the oblique line. So this oblique line, it runs downwards and forwards. So this oblique line, it gives attachment to the muscles from above downwards. The thyrohyoid, sternothyroid, then inferior constrictor of the pharynx. So these are the structures attached to the oblique line of thyroid cartilage. This is very, very important from examination point of view. They will ask you in Viva also. So what is oblique line? On the lateral aspect of the outer surface of each lamina, there is a marking that is known as oblique line. So this line runs downwards and forwards, and it gives attachment to the following muscles: the sternothyroid, thyrohyoid, inferior constrictor of the pharynx, and also the pretracheal layer of deep cervical fascia. So this is important. You have to remember that. Then the posterior margin of each lamina. This is the posterior margin of the each lamina. I told you that they are prolonged. The posterior border is prolonged superiorly and inferiorly. Superiorly, the posterior border forms the superior carnoa or the superior horn. Downward projection is called inferior horn or the inferior carnoa. So this is inferior carnoa or inferior horn. This is superior carnoa or the superior horn. It receives insertion of this posterior border. It receives insertion of stylopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus, and salpingopharyngeus muscle. Okay, stylopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus, and salpingopharyngeus, they are attached to the posterior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. That you should remember. And oblique line, I told you in the previous slide that oblique line gives attachment to what? And the posterior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage, the structures are different. Okay. Internal surface of the thyroid lamina near the angle, you see the attachment of thyroarytenoid and thyroepiglotticus muscles. Okay. Thyroarytenoid and thyroepiglotticus muscle. Now, internal surface of the thyroid cartilage, we have two folds or ligaments, which are known as the vestibular folds or false vocal cords. Vestibular folds are false vocal cords. Then we have vocal folds. So, internal surface of the thyroid cartilage, we have vestibular folds and vocal folds. So, vestibular folds are false vocal cords, whereas vocal folds are true vocal cords. These vocal folds are responsible for the production of the voice. Next, we shall discuss about cricoid cartilage. So the cricoid cartilage, it lies at the level of C6 vertebra. This is very, very important. You should remember that it lies at the C6 vertebra. That is cervical 6 vertebra. So the cricoid cartilage, it is shaped like a ring, signet ring shape cartilage. Okay, you can imagine, especially the girls, they wear the rings. So exactly the shape of the signet ring. Okay. So narrow anteriorly, we have narrow anterior arch, right? And broad posterior lamina. Okay. So if you look at your palm, and if you have finger in the, so if you have a signet ring in your index, in your ring finger, so keep your palm facing forward and see that anterior part of that ring is known as arch, and posterior part which is broad, that is known as lamina. So we can see here, this is broad part of the cricoid cartilage is known as lamina, and anterior narrow part is known as the arch. So this is the arch and this is the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. Okay. It is the most inferior cartilage of the larynx. So obviously. So the arrangement is like epiglottis, thyroid, and cricoid cartilage. So it is the most inferior cartilage of the larynx. So I told you this is the lamina of the cricoid cartilage and this is the arch of the cricoid cartilage. Okay. And we have facets for the articulation with the arytenoid cartilages here. Okay. Facet for articulation with the arytenoid cartilage. So joints of the cricoid cartilage. It has two synovial joints on each side. Cricothyroid joint, that is between the cricoid cartilage and the thyroid cartilage. Okay, that we say cricothyroid joint, and cricoarytenoid joint. So we can see here is a facet for the articulation of the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. So this is cricothyroid joint and facet for the articulation of arytenoid cartilage. This is cricoarytenoid joint. Muscles attached to the cricoid cartilage. What are the muscles attached to the cricoid cartilage? We have the cricothyroid, then posterior cricoarytenoid and lateral cricoarytenoid. Okay, cricothyroid, you can see here the posterior cricoarytenoid and lateral cricoarytenoid. These are the muscles attached to the cricoid cartilage. Okay. So if you see here in this diagram, the anterior arch, it presents upper and lower borders. This is upper border and lower border, outer surface and inner surface. Okay. So upper border, it gives attachment to the cricovocal membrane. Cricovocal membrane. Okay. So lower border, it is connected to the tracheal ring by cricotracheal ligament. Cricotracheal ligament, that lower border of the arch of the cricoid cartilage. It is connected to the trachea by cricotracheal ligament. Upper border gives attachment to cricovocal membrane. Okay. The posterior part of the cricoid cartilage, it is known as the lamina. It is quadrilateral in shape. It also presents upper and lower borders. The upper border articulates with the arytenoid cartilage and forms synovial cricoarytenoid joint. Lower border gives attachment to the trachealis muscle. Okay. Now we shall move on to the epiglottis. So epiglottis, the shape of the epiglottis is leaf shape. You can see here in the real image, this is the leaf shaped cartilage or tongue shaped cartilage, we say, having broad upper part and a narrow lower part. So this is the broad upper part and this is the narrow lower part. So you can see here the broad upper part and narrow lower part. This leaf-like cartilage, it is present behind the hyoid bone and the base of the tongue. So tongue we can make out in this figure at the base of the tongue and behind the hyoid bone. Upper end is broad and free, lower end is stark. It is pointed, attached to the thyroid cartilage. Okay, lower end is attached to the thyroid cartilage. Sides are connected by arytenoids by aryepiglottic folds. Okay, the sides of the epiglottic cartilage, they are connected to the arytenoids by aryepiglottic folds. So upper and lower ends of the epiglottis, then we have anterior surface and posterior surface of the epiglottis and two lateral borders. You can see this is one and this is the other. These are the lateral borders of the epiglottis. So upper end, if you see the upper end, it lies just behind the tongue and it is free. It is covered with mucous membrane and forms upper boundary of the inlet of the larynx. Okay. Lower end is attached to the angle formed by anterior margins of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage just below the thyroid notch. The lower end is connected to the posterior surface of the thyroid angle by thyroepiglottic ligament. Okay. Thyroepiglottic. So upper end is free, lower end is connected to the thyroid angle by thyroepiglottic ligament. The lower end of the epiglottis, it shows a backward projection in the midline. This projection is called tubercle of the epiglottis. Okay. Tubercle of the epiglottis. So if you see here, the anterior surface of the epiglottis is lined by stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. Okay. Whereas the upper part usually so mucous membrane here, the mucous membrane covering the anterior surface and upper part of the posterior surface. So mucous membrane covering the anterior surface and upper part of the posterior surface of the epiglottis. It is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Whereas the lower part, this is the lower part is lined by ciliated columnar epithelium, that is respiratory epithelium. So this is actually the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. So coming to the arytenoid cartilages. Each arytenoid cartilage, it is pyramidal in shape. It is present on the upper lamina of the cricoid cartilage. You can see here. The apex is directed upwards and articulates with the corniculate cartilage. Base is concave, articulate with the cricoid cartilage. It has two processes, vocal process. So these are the vocal processes. It projects anteriorly. Then this is the muscular process. It projects backwards and laterally. So if you see the attachments of the muscles over here, the transverse arytenoid, oblique arytenoid, and posterior cricoarytenoid. These are the muscles attached to the arytenoid cartilages. Okay. Then corniculate and cuneiform cartilages. These are small nodules located in the inlet of the larynx. Corniculate cartilage lies at the apex of the arytenoids, and cuneiform cartilage, they are wedge shaped, lies in the margin of the aryepiglottic folds. So corniculate and cuneiform cartilage have no functional importance. Okay. So we can make out here the aryepiglottic fold. So within the aryepiglottic fold, you have cuneiform cartilages. Okay. So these two cartilages have no functional importance. So dear students, this is about the introduction to the larynx and cartilages of the larynx. I would request all of you to go through the thyroid cartilage, epiglottis, and cricoid cartilage and arytenoids, because these are very, very important. they come as very short notes in the exam and short notes in the exam. So after you get familiar with the cartilages of larynx, we can move for the muscles of the larynx. So I cannot cover the whole topic in one class because you may get confused. First you go, after listening to this lecture, go through the cartilages of larynx from the textbook, then we will discuss about the muscles of the larynx. Okay. Thank you very much. For any doubts, you can ask me.